When I arrived at the hotel on Friday, I spent a while in the registration line, a little nervous about what was coming. Unfortunately, I missed the opening ceremonies, but when they let out, I saw her, Diane. She would be the friend I would end up spending most of the con with. Finally meeting her in real life for the first time was honestly an intense experience. It was shocking, even more so the fact that she recognized me by face alone. We hugged and we promised to catch up as soon as me and my mom registered. After waiting in that dang line for like an hour, getting into my room and getting my lunch out of the way, I finally got to go to this con. Yeah, if there's anything I regret on this trip, it's wasting as much time as I did actually getting settled and into the con. Not like it could have been helped, though. But after that, there wasn't really much else to complain about. Me and my mom cruised around the vendor hall, and I was impressed. There were plush animals everywhere. And I don't just mean in the vendor hall. I mean literally everywhere I went at the con, there was a plush animal, and some of them were as big as me. I saw all kinds of familiar creators and artists that, well, I wasn't entirely ready to meet just yet. And unfortunately, I didn't meet everyone I wanted to. In the vendor hall, I saw Twisted Sketches, Lightning Bliss, Silver Quill, Dusk, Miss Melee, and even Aeon of Dreams. And even when I stepped out of the vendor hall, I saw I Am Shadow 007, EG Studios, and even the Inverted Shadow, who I didn't even know were there. There were a lot of people I didn't know were there. Afterwards, I was able to meet up with Diane again, and we sat down and took a selfie together here. She let me in on a few things about HarmonyCon that I didn't know about. Apparently, there's this thing called the free table where, yeah, people just leave free stuff they made for people to take. A lot of them were interesting little trinkets along with a lot of shameless self-promotion. And I won't lie, I got a few things from it. It was also a bit of a meme, I think, surrounding this guy Tootsie Forever, who I assume started this free table thing. After that, we cruised the vendor hall ourselves for a while. Diane found a few interesting things from Twisted Sketches booth. But for me, I was very indecisive. It's actually kind of an issue I've been dealing with. But regardless, the vendor hall was a great place, and there was a lot of fascinating stuff there. Shortly after that, we went to our first panel. It was a comedy panel called My Little Match Game. And no, it wasn't a shipping panel. It was more of a match the description to this word sort of deal. I don't know. But still, it was funny. I'm just sitting there with Diane, laughing our heads off. The one joke I'll never forget was when they asked, Tempest Horn was broken, but what else is? And in my head, I'm just like, isn't broken basically her character? I hope this got recorded and uploaded somewhere. Please watch it if you find it. After the panel ended, I was finally introduced to Bobby Seas, and seriously, he's a very fascinating guy. Like, the work he puts into his craft specifically at these panels he hosted was more effort than I ever made by far. And, well, he recognized me from my art style, which you're seeing right now. My work in shining through the shadows, not going unnoticed. After that, we made our way to our next panel room, where we met the community guest. And we got to meet Nowacking, which I just couldn't even believe. Yes, I got Nowaking's autograph. And yeah, it was quite the complex to finally be meeting him after the iconography he established. And I just didn't know what to say. Diane was definitely excited, though. Nowaking is one of her inspirations. And then I also met Wooten, who recommended my AT2020 microphone, which I'm not recording on right now, but I have in several videos. So I got his autograph and thanked him for recommending the mic. After that, I sat down for a bit and looked at my con book for a bit. And one panel in particular caught my eye: how to make friends at cons, which was in the same room we were already in. This panel fascinated me, and there's a reason for it. My mom saw that there were several panels about making and maintaining friendships, and she recommended them to me. This is going to be important to remember as I talk about this panel. When I told Diane about why I wanted to attend this panel, as well as when the panel began, I revealed my backstory of what happened to me before the con. 2 weeks before I went, I was very broken. I said something that I regretted. It betrays me, it hurt others, and it was a cheap lie. One that was all too happy to show the truth when I went to the con. Now, I don't want to go into full detail because I want to stay focused. But to make it brief, I believed in something that was not true. But it was public perception to me that it was true. The toxic brony fandom lie. But this con was quickly going to prove to me how wrong it was. The panel speaker, Steel Pone, was very inspirational. But soon at the height of the panel, I spoke up. I spoke directly to him about my plight before the con and how I've been struggling with self-confidence and self-pressure issues for years. Fear of losing my friends and something along those lines, even if the actual process was not as hard as I thought. He was honestly impressed with me and loved what I had to say, and he even hugged me. It was beautiful. And it was definitely the emotional height for that panel. And when that panel ended, Diane congratulated my progress, and she encouraged me to keep going. She has faith in me that I'm all too grateful for. And Steel Pone asked who I am. He friended me on Discord and subscribed to my YouTube channel. And one last thing I did before I left was that I met 2 people I have seen on YouTube. Jessie Barb and her daughter Nicole. You know, from Golden Fox's live streams. They were there the whole time. And when I noticed them, I was just like, oh dear, it's actually them. Even though I probably should have guessed they would be there. Anyways, Nicole was pretty funny during the panel. And when I finally met them both in person, they were very pleasant to interact with. So Jessie, Nicole, if you're watching this, thank you so much for being at the panel, and it was an absolute honor to meet you. And yes, Nicole, you technically are YouTube famous too. Anyways, after I left my Impact for that panel, I went back to my room and got dinner before going back down, and not much really happened before Trivia Trot. I briefly went to the main events to see the rave. I mean, raves aren't really my thing, but I can't deny being at them is awesome. I believe I saw the Wonderbolts and Step 2 Harmony when I was there. Then, after briefly trekking through the vendor hall again, I met up with Diane at Pegasus B to witness the absolute madness of Trivia Trot. We arrived just as the Beat YouTube Kids algorithm panel ended, and they were just setting up for Trivia Trot. One of the hosts of which was Bobby C's, along with Luna Brony, Fiora the Tank Girl, Red Card, Equestrian Wastelander, Ren Mission Violet, and Taylor Bow McCardle. And I also saw Little Shy in the audience, which won't be the last time, by the way. As me and Diane sat down and the panel began, there were 4 different categories. Recognizing the episode a specific frame came from, recognizing the lyrics of the rest of the song, figuring out what character said a specific line, also breaking news, because of course. The panel was the most entertaining part of the night, and everyone was laughing. In fact, there was so much content in the panel that I think it ended up running overtime. It started at 9:45 and was supposed to end at 10:30. Well, by 10:32, it was still going. Aside from the contestants who were the life of that panel, Bobby C's was an excellent host, and spoilers, this wouldn't be his last hosting at the con. Eventually, by the time we got to the music category, the panel reached an off-the-rails high, when 3 girls from the audience started chiming in and started answering for the contestants. But they were so cute and enthusiastic, they just let them participate. I never got their names, unfortunately, but I hope we find out who they are. And me and Diane were just having too much fun with this, and not to brag, but I actually knew most of the answers. If you want to see a full video on this panel, just check out Red Card's recording of it. Anyways, like I said, the panel ended up running overtime and I had to get to sleep. So I gave my goodbye to Diane for the day and headed back to my room, took my shower, and went to bed. And that was Friday. Honestly, the only panels I regret not attending were Blender's Not That Hard and Small Time Horse YouTubers. But they were either running during Trivia Trot or lasted till 1:30 in the morning. So yeah, I obviously couldn't attend those, but if you find a recording, please send it to me. Now stay tuned as I release my next video for Saturday.